Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar, How to Turn Windows 7 End of Life into New Business. This is Mark Winter, VP Sales here at Rapid Fire Tools, joined by our Senior Sales Engineer, Ty Saunders, who will show you a little bit about Network Detective and, where all that great information is. It's going to help you close business faster. So a little bit about Rapid Fire Tools if you're not familiar with us. We are now a Kaseya company, along with IT Glue, ID Agent, and a few others. However, we were founded independently by Michael Mattel, an MSP himself. And for the last 10, 12 years, our focus has really been on tools for the MSP community and the IT providers. And there's 6,000 to 8,000, or maybe even more at this point, IT providers worldwide using our tools. Our core offerings include Network Detective, which is our IT assessment documentation reporting platform, which we're going to be talking about a few of the modules here today. We've also got CyberHawk, which is Insider Threat Protection, and Compliance Manager, that is allows you to deliver compliance as a service to your customers. So if any of those are of interest to you, of course, check out the website or reach out to us and talk with one of our sales consultants. So this is all about winning new business and growing your business and potentially using Windows 7 kind of as a means to do that, right? But first off, how do we grow our business? If we're looking to add customers, we need leads so that we can, present our services to new potential customers, right? And the term that we use is a call to action. That's the offer in your marketing. So if you're sending out an email to an email list, your call to action is whatever you're asking them to do. Maybe it's click a link and fill out a form, or on your website. Right, so they're looking there. They might click over to a page that has some information, and maybe they want a quote for your services. That would be a call to action, right? But a really good call to action is going to be something non-threatening. So, putting up a form to say, "Hey, give us a call," that's going to be a very qualified lead, but that's not exactly non-threatening, right? They know that they're going to get a sales call. You're going to get fewer leads that way. A good call to action is something that's going to give your potential customer good value. Right, more on that in a minute. And of course, it's going to be something that they really want so that they'll respond, because at the end of the day, you need them to respond so that you can then be in contact with them. And of course, it's got to be something that's easy for you to deliver, that doesn't cost you a lot in terms of real dollars or time, and something that's not terribly aggravating for you to do. And for the longest time, assessments, IT assessments, security assessments, really are one of the better call to action for your marketing, right? It's high value to your potential customer. You're offering them your services and the end output of your services, which is an assessment of their network, their infrastructure, the good, the bad, the ugly. So they're getting a third-party review of how good their infrastructure is set up and is it secure, are there problems, that kind of thing, right? And it's valuable to a small to mid-sized business, whether it's their nephew doing the IT or some other IT provider. And it's also great for you, right? So, again, you're providing high value to your customer, but you're getting a chance to come in and, actually discover what's on the network, right? Look under the hood, as it were. You'll know how many systems there are, what operating systems they're running, right, including Windows 7, how much memory they have, what applications are running, what does Active Directory look like. So you get a chance to really know what's on that network. So at the end of the day, you can put together a proposal that makes sense, because it's not just Windows 7 that we're talking about here, guys. It's really using Windows 7 as that door opener, right? So being able to identify security issues and misconfigurations you can sell against is really what you're looking to do. So offering IT assessments or security assessments has been a tried and true method for getting your foot in the door. But the best call to actions are something that address issues that are top of mind, right, that create that more immediate need. And that's where Windows 7 comes in, right? Hard to believe, but Windows 7 is actually 10 years old now, and there are millions of PCs out there still running Windows 7. Certainly some of those are in residence, but there's a lot that's going on that are still in business. And the business owners, especially in the SMBs, have no clue what's on their network, right? And this is where you can offer kind of a third-party review to let them know how much they're at risk because of, potentially unsupported operating systems, which, is what, January 20th? I'm sorry, January, I think, 14th of next year, something like that. So the whole idea is you can offer prospects, again, a very valuable service. Go out with an offer for free Windows 7 assessment and talk to them about their options to migrate to Windows 10, right? With millions of Windows 7 out there still, while there have been a lot of migrations, there's still plenty of time and opportunity to offer these services as means to get your foot in the door. And like I said, while you're at it, perform a full network and security audit, right? Identify the age of the computers, what operating systems, the configuration of all the assets. Like I said before, you're going to look for existing security holes, vulnerabilities, maybe even vulnerabilities in the firewall. You might check to see if their passwords are on the dark web. What are they doing for backup and storage? And if you're using the right tools, this isn't going to cost you any extra work. I mean, certainly you can go in and, take a walk around and with point tools figure out what Windows 7's there. But if you've got the right tools like Network Detective, this can really make it very easy for you. I mean, Network Detective is designed, it was purpose-built for prospecting. And what I mean by that is that our data collection method and tools are completely automated and non-intrusive. There's no agents that you're going to install, no probes you're going to leave behind. And at the end of the day, it's going to generate compelling reports and documentation. And, talking about the Windows 7, we'll specifically identify unsupported operating systems, systems in extended support that you can sell against. Ty will show you, where these come in a minute. So, the whole idea here is that you can identify the number of systems on Windows 7. Our reports summarize this information for you. Now, when you go back in to deliver this information to your customers, I really don't think you ought to provide that list, especially if you're doing this for free, right? You're going to provide them with a proposal. Say there are 17 or 2 or 10, however many Windows 7 are out there. Perhaps even some old Windows Server 2003 could be out there. So identify these systems. That's part of what you've promised to do, but also show them the other risks that are going on. And having all that information really helps you craft winning proposals. So when you go back to your potential customer, right, you're going to provide them, here's your risk as far as Windows 7 and any other unsupported OSs, right? Maybe there's still some XP out there, who knows? Talk to them about the risk of doing nothing. But at the end of the day, you might provide them a Windows 7 migration project. But you also should offer them, especially if you can identify risks and misconfigurations, and Ty's going to show you what these reports look like, offer them, your managed services proposal, right? Communicate the benefits of what you could do and, explain to them you've got the right tools, the expertise and knowledge to make sure networks don't look like this and, we don't leave you with Windows 7 there. And you'll see in a moment, our reports really do help you close the deal. We've got an executive summary that should be part of your proposal. It's going to tie to it, again, highlighting the Windows 7 issues, but also highlighting other security risks and misconfigurations. And it's not just saying, here's the risks. The report also has recommendations for fixing it. It makes you look really, really good. And we've got a lot of assessment details that are going to back up your analysis, right? The details on the Windows 7 systems, are they potentially able to be migrated to Windows 10, or do they have to be completely replaced, right? So all this information gives you the knowledge you need of the environment of that network. And once they become a customer, you're going to use the same information to speed up your onboarding process. You'll have a snapshot of what you're inheriting and bringing on. You got all the assets documented, the network settings, what's going on in Active Directory. You can have a punch list where you're going to deploy your monitoring system. And of course, you can export this into your PSA systems as well. And on a regular basis, it doesn't stop there when you're using tools like Network Detective. Our customers, our more successful MSP customers, use Network Detective reports as part of all of their technology business reviews, whether they do that quarterly, semi-annually, or just annually. Get your customers used to seeing it. And also run our tools to kind of do a trust but verify what's on the network. Audit yourself and the performance of your techs. So it's really designed to be very easy to run and help you make money. There's two components. Ty's going to show you this in a minute, so I'm going to keep very high level. Our data collectors automate the collection of data on the prospect or customer's network. Again, it's non-intrusive. You're not leaving anything behind. You bring the data back from your data collection, and Network Detective automates the creation of the reports. 100% white labeled, brandable with your logos and your colors. I often get asked how this, is different from my monitoring system, right? Because truly, in customer situations, you probably already know from your RMM what OSs are out there. So when it comes to prospecting, though, Network Detective is far superior. And that's because you're not installing any agents. There's not an MSI. Nothing gets left behind. So, compare that to using a monitoring system. You've got to go out, potentially install, a LabTech or ConnectWise agents or, whatever your RMM is, right? So you got to send an engineer out, install agents. You're making a change to the network. If something goes wrong on the network after you've installed agents, who do you think they're going to blame, right? And if you don't win the deal, you've got to send somebody else out to remove those agents. And also, what happens if, let's say you're a Kaseya shop and you go to a customer that's got Kaseya from another MSP, you're really not going to install two sets of the same agents, right? So Network Detective is far superior in prospecting. It also does things that RMMs don't do. So Ty will mention this in a minute, but we can do an external vulnerability scan of the client's firewalls and other external facing IPs. We'll gather information and analyze what's going on in Active Directory. So there's so much more that Network Detective does on top of RMMs. It's very complementary to your monitoring systems. So at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Ty. He'll show you what this looks like and how you can use these reports to identify what's going on and help sell to customers. Ty?
Thanks, Mark, and thanks everybody for taking the time out of your days to be with us here this afternoon or morning if you're on the West Coast. But as Mark said, what I'm really going to show you today is how this works, what it looks like whenever you're running a scan or whenever your techs are running the scan. And then I'm going to show you just a few of the reports and give you a better idea of how you can use this to identify some of those outdated operating systems and some other risks that you can uncover using the tool. So for starters here, I have my Network Detective data collector. So this is just an executable file that you need to run from any computer that's attached to their internal network. It could be the domain controller, it could be a workstation. You can bring your own laptop in there if you want. As long as you're connected to the network, you can run this scan from your own machine. Not a problem. Or you can have it on a thumb drive, plug it in somewhere, just run it from anywhere. Once you start this up, it's going to bring up this wizard-driven process here. So if I'm a technician or if I'm a sales rep, this is the first thing that I would do when I walk into the customer's office. Hi, how you doing? Let me connect to your network so I can run my scan while we go through and do our walkthrough and give my presentation. So first thing you do here is open up this data collection process, and then it's going to ask you a series of questions. Now, this is very straightforward, very easy to use. The aim here was to make it as easy as possible so you could have your average salesperson be able to run this without any problems. So the first thing I'm going to do is type in my administrative credentials. If they're on Active Directory, you select this box. If this is a work group or a peer-to-peer network, you just select work group here. But I'm on AD, so I'm going to select this. You specify your username, the password, and where's my domain controller, what's the host name or the IP address. Select next. Those are going to authenticate. And then it's going to give me an option to filter this. You're typically never going to do this, but if you want, you can filter by OU here if you only want to scan specific OUs, but I'm going to scan everything. Any additional credentials I need to enter? Maybe there's a work group attached to this domain, or I need to enter or a work group that's obviously not part of the domain, but I need to add additional credentials in order to access those machines. Or this is a work group, I type in all my administrative credentials here. We'll try those wherever the original ones are failing at. Any external domains you want to scan, we'll do a who is query and an MX lookup, and we'll also do a dark web scan and look for compromised passwords. So that's one additional thing that you can do here as well, is run a dark web scan and look for compromised passwords on their email domains. So I type those in there. The IP ranges are auto detected. Typically, you don't need to make any changes here, but if for some reason there is a VLAN that we didn't pick up, you can add that. Or maybe you don't want to scan this whole range, you can cut this back. but typically no changes need to be made here. SNMP community strings, it's automatically set to public. You can add more if you need to. If they have a VMware server, you could type that info in here. We'll pull all the information on the VMs that are running. And from there, you're finished. That's the last thing you need to do. Now I'll click start scan, and then the scan's going to initiate. Within 30 minutes to an hour, I should have my zip file, which you can rename here. So if I'm the salesperson, I would run this, and then I would go do my meeting with the client, whatever it is that they do. So they might do an office walkthrough and fill out a questionnaire. They might take them out to lunch or give them a presentation. Whatever it is, this is when you're doing it. And by the time they're done with that, they should have a zip file. And then they would schedule a second meeting to go over their findings. So once you go back to the office, you get in your network detective application here. So I'm going to open this up. So here I've got my network detective application, and this is where everything is stored, and this is where you actually generate your reports. So each one of these little boxes represents a different client, and I have all of them stored here. So we're going to archive all that historical data. But since I just scanned a new customer, I'm going to create a new site. So I can call this customer, and that's going to bring up a blank assessment here. So what do I want to do? I'm going to make a network and security assessment on a domain. That's the scan that we just ran. And now it gives me a to-do list. So it goes through what I need to do in order to complete out this assessment. I'm doing both a network and a security scan here. So the first thing is to run the network detect data collector. Well, that's what we just did here. That was that whole process. So I'm going to import my scan file that I got from running that scan, or my zip file, and I've got some sample data here. And once I import it, it'll give me a checkbox. Now, theoretically, I'm finished here. There's nothing else that I need to do that is required of me. This is a required step here. But since we're doing a security assessment too, I might as well run an external vulnerability scan, and this is included with the security module. There's no additional charge for it. So I would just type in my customer or my prospects, public-facing IPs, hit next, and that'll initiate an external vulnerability scan. Now I'm finished. Nothing else to do in order to complete out this assessment. You see this reports ready icon here. But before I generate any of my reports, I probably want to customize them. So all of the reports that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes, they're all white labeled, and there's no mention of rapid fire tools, network detective, or anything like that. These are yours to present as your own findings and as your own reports. So here I put reports prepared by, you put your own company's name in here. Your logo, you can stick your logo in there, or better yet, stick your customer's logo in there. Make it more specific to them. Make them feel a little better like you did this or made these unique just for them. The themes, you can change those. You can change the color palettes. You can even change the cover images. You can use a stock one we have in here, upload a custom one. If you're going to make these specific to a client, why not take a picture of the front of their building, upload that in there. Maybe their server room is just a mess. Take a picture of that and stick it in there just to highlight some of the other problems that you found. Once these are customized, I can go ahead and generate my reports here, and I generate any reports that I want. But before I do that, I can actually explore and analyze this data without even having to generate any reports. So if I'm looking to drill down on this network and look for Windows 7 machines, for instance, I've got my summary information here. I can click on computers, and I can filter this stuff from over here. So I want to see all my Windows 7 machines. And here's all my Windows 7 machines. And if I'm interested in more data than what I'm seeing here, so we'll give the computer name, the IP address, the OS, the last login, and if it's active or not. But I can double click on this machine, and it'll take me to give me all the system information. So here I can take a look and see if I want to upgrade this to Windows 10, or maybe I just want to decommission it because it's just a dinosaur, and I just don't want to use it anymore. It just doesn't make sense to upgrade or anything like that. Or maybe you just need to add more RAM. It's got a good processor, and you need to add like 4 gigs of RAM or something like that. This is where you can find all that information. The Windows key, the disk space usage, open versus used, whether it's running antivirus, anti-spyware, missing critical patches, any license keys for applications that are running, shares that are hosted on here, any printers that are connected, all my applications that are running, and the version numbers, any open ports, and any users who have profiles on here. So that's one way to get that information. But back in my application here. So once I'm finished with my assessment, I explored my data, I'm probably going to generate my reports. So you select any reports you want, click Create Reports, and then those will be generated. Now, I'm going to show you some of these, and I'm pulling all of this stuff from our website. So I'm going to go through a couple of the key reports here, but if you want to come back later and drill down a little further on some of these, or maybe go over some reports that I skipped, feel free to come to our website, and you can access all of these reports here. It's all public information. The first thing here is the risk report. This is the report that I'm probably going to show to the customer on my second meeting. If I'm the salesperson, it's my second meeting. This is to go over my findings and what I found. This is probably the first thing that you're going to go over is the risk report. Now, this is going to be an executive summary that gives you a risk score here. So this is 97, obviously bad. You want it to be as low as possible. Higher is worse. It's between 0 and 100. And this is 97, obviously bad. We have an overall issue score here too. So this is all the issues multiplied by the number of occurrences. So this is pointing out all the problems that we found on their network that could pose a risk to their internal security. So here I have anti-spyware not installed. This is a 94-point problem. We'll tell you what the issue is and what the recommendation is. So we basically put everything into a layman's terms. You can pretty much show this to anybody that don't know a whole lot about technology, and they should be able to understand what your problems are here. See, unsupported operating systems. This is where your Windows 7 machines will be found. Starting next month, you'll find them all in here. It looks like we found 2. And then here's the issue and the recommendation. And then down a little further, we'll do internet speed test results, some summary information, and active and inactive computers, inactive and active users, and some charts and graphs to go along with them. It really makes it look like you did a ton of work when it only took me 5 or 10 minutes of actual hands-on time to put this stuff together. So your executive summary here. And the next thing is your management plan. So say the customer says, or the prospect says, yes, I want you to come in and fix all this stuff that you found. Well, this is a remediation plan for your tech to go through and fix all those problems that we found and essentially get that risk score down to 0 if they fix everything. So here, upgrade or replace operating systems with upgrade or replace computers with operating systems that are no longer supported. And this is the highest risk here, so it's in descending order, so you can prioritize this a little easier. Then here are my 2 machines where I need to upgrade the OS. And we'll do that for every problem. So this is really a game plan to go in and fix all the stuff we found that was wrong. We'll also give you what we call a full detail report. Now, this is really anything and everything that we found during this assessment. So we're going to give you all the domain controllers, all the FSMO roles, all the organizational units, all of the users in Active Directory. So here are my active users, and here are my inactive users. And I'm seeing some red here that indicates a potential problem. Like this guy here, or this lady, Abby Torrance, hasn't logged in since 2016. That's obviously a problem, something I probably want to bring up with HR and say, who the heck is this person? And why do they still have access to the network? Were they terminated? Did they resign? Are they on some kind of extremely extended leave? This is just another thing you could point out and try and help you displace the incumbent MSP because they're not taking care of keeping their Active Directory up to date. A lot of stuff in here will give you all the service accounts, security groups, or the members of those security groups, all the specs for all the systems, the processors, the RAM, all your DNS entries, all the applications, the license keys, server aging, your workstation aging, a lot of good stuff in here. And to really give you a good idea of what you're walking into before you give that actual quote. So this will help you much more accurately give that initial quote, because you never want to have to go back and say, oh, we didn't find these problems before, we're going to have to increase your monthly rate. So this gives you a much more full picture, and you can more accurately assess what it's going to cost each month to the customer. The next report here is another report that you would show to your prospect or to your customer if you're running this on your current client. And this is a report card. This is where we give each computer a grade, A through F, based on what we found. So here's all my machines that we scanned, and then we're going to give it an overall grade here, A through F, and then this is based on the antivirus, anti-spyware status, firewall settings, missing critical patches, insecure listening ports, failed logins, vulnerabilities, whether screen lock with timeouts turned on or not, the system aging, and whether the OS is supported. So if this is running Windows 7, this should get an F here starting next month. So based on all that, we give it this overall grade. And you can point out where their problem machines are. This is just another report you can stick in front of them to help convey the message that these are issues that you need to fix. So something you can show them, very easy to understand. And we have a rubric down here as well. So what we mean by each grade, A, B, C, D, or F for each of those those areas there. The next report here is the vulnerability scan report. And this doesn't have anything to do with Windows 7, but I think it's a really high value thing. So I'm going to just show you this report here. So this is something that typically vendors are going to charge per scan or per client for, whereas with our security module, it's all inclusive. You can run the scan as many times as you want on as many different customers. Price stays the same. There's no additional charge. So this is going to you type in the customer's public-facing IP, which I showed you a few minutes ago. We hit that IP, we look for open ports, and we run a series of vulnerability tests against those open ports. And then we let you know what we find, and these are just the results here. So we found 2 open ports on this IP, 443 and 1723. Then we got 4 vulnerabilities, 3 medium and 1 low. And then we'll tell you each test that we ran. So here we check for SSL weak ciphers. Here, this is affecting port 443, and then all the information on the specific vulnerability along with a solution here. So how am I going to go about fixing this vulnerability? And this is what your tech would do in order to resolve this specific problem. The last report that I'm going to show you is really the full detail report that I just showed you, but it's going to be in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. It makes it a little bit easier to navigate, and if you want to take this data and put it into another program or another document, it makes it a little bit easier to do that. So here I've got all of my computers. This is just my tab with a detailed computer analysis. What I can do is filter this, and if I'm interested in my Windows 7 machines, I can just say, let's see, who's running Windows 7? I've got 2 machines here running Windows 7. Here's the CPU, here's the RAM. Let's see, here's the Windows key, the make and model, the memory banks, how much memory, how much bank is being used in each of those. Here's more information on the CPU, the virtual memory, my OS install date. So really what I would use this for is just to see what type of computer this is, and do I want to upgrade it, and is it possible to upgrade it, or is it worth maybe upgrading the specs, adding RAM or adding a new hard drive, or do I just want to junk it? So to help you make that determination. And again, it's in this spreadsheet, so it's really easy to navigate and filter through this stuff and copy it into another application. And that's really all I got for you here. Now, there's a ton of other reports, and there's a lot of more stuff you can do with here, but we don't have time to go over everything. But it's really easy to use. You can have just your average salesperson come in, run this, and just get mountains of data, which can help you uncover problems that you may not have known existed, and also help you isolate these Windows 7 machines on customers, because that's obviously a security concern. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Mark for the second part of this presentation. Mark, you there?
Yes, I am, Ty. Thanks. Great job showing where all that information is, and guys, as you can see, there's a ton of valuable information as far as identifying systems out of support, but also all the misconfigurations and the risk reports that really do help you sell. So let me just kind of summarize. Network assessments and security assessments alone are a fantastic call to action for your marketing that are going to get you not one, by the way, but actually 2 visits. Think of those as 2 sales calls, 2 opportunities to build that rapport, right? You get to go in and you get to do the data collection, and then you're going to schedule time and come back a week later and sit down with the results of the assessment and, of course, your proposal. And you can leverage the Windows 7 end of life to create that urgency, right, to get people to respond. And like we were talking about and Ty was just showing you, you're going to turn that Windows 7 pain point into a full network and security audit that's going to help you not just get the project revenue for a Windows 7 migration, but if you're doing the job right, you'll be able to actually, create a new customer for your managed services. And doing this by hand or with point tools can take a lot of time. Network Detective is designed to make this fast and easy for you, right? You've got the automated scans that are non-intrusive, so it's perfect for prospecting. And of course, you can always run this on your existing customers. And there's the automated report creation. And Ty showed you, what the data collector looks like and the reports. And there's so many more reports, right? Not all are customer facing, but they're all there to give you a sense of what's on the network, help you identify issues, and of course the customer-facing reports, the risk report, the scorecard, some of the others are there to help you close business faster. The reports, again, 100% white labeled. You'll import your logos, change the color of the cover page so they match your branding. All right, Ty, so at this point, let's cut over to some Q&A.
Sure. So let me look here. So somebody asked, typically how long does the scan take? And that depends on the size of the network. I would say most of the time it'll take about 30 minutes for your average customer that you're going to be walking into. But I would budget a whole hour, and that should cover you for like 98% of the environments that you're walking into. Occasionally, it might take a little longer for your much larger ones, but typically an hour is more than enough. Somebody asked if we can scan over a VLAN. So yeah, if you have customers or prospects with multiple different locations, and they're all connected through a VLAN, we can scan over that VLAN, assuming that the machine that you're running the scan from has access or can actually go through that VLAN tunnel. Somebody asked about firewall settings or anything that needs to be enabled for the scan to actually run. So we use WMI, SNMP, and then remote registry in order to access the vast majority of the information that we're pulling. So as long as you have those protocols enabled, we'll have no problem scanning every machine. And if those protocols aren't enabled for whatever reason, we actually have a local scan option. So you can log into a computer and then start a local scan on that machine for any ones where you want to get data and we can't access it remotely. Somebody asked if we require installing MBSA. No, we do not use MBSA to pull patch information. Windows 10 does not support MBSA, so we no longer use it. Somebody asked.
So I've got one about.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So somebody asked about change reporting. So yeah, if you're we do change reporting. So you can take two different assessments and compare them against each other, and we'll tell you the differences. So if you're onboarding a new client and you ran your prospecting scan and you want to give them a 2-week or a 1-month follow-up to see what you've done, you can create a report showing them the machines that you removed, what you've upgraded, all the issues you fixed, and all those changes. And we'll give you a couple client-facing reports that you can put in front of them just to show them what's going on and the progress that you've made. Somebody also asked about integrations. So we do export information to the major PSAs. So ConnectWise, Autotask, TigerPaw, and Kaseya BMS. You can export all these configuration items or all this system information to those PSAs. We also have an integration with IT Glue. So with Reporter, which as Mark said was included for free whenever you sign up for 3 years, that has an integration with IT Glue, and it's a direct API integration. So it'll actually run the scan, and it's all automated too with Reporter. So that scan will run, and it will push that information into IT Glue. And once it's in IT Glue, we'll actually create flexible assets for you and organize it all. We'll create related items as well. So it's all indexed automatically. It's a really good integration. If you want to see it, feel free to reach out to your sales rep, and we can show you a demo of it.
Ty, any other high-level questions you want to respond to?
Somebody asked what's about the learning curve. So it's fairly simple to use, as you saw. I mean, it's not difficult. It's very straightforward. But we do offer training for all of our products, and that there's no additional charge for that. It's just included with your subscription, you could probably say. We have a whole team of customer success specialists that'll walk you through from downloading the software to running the tool to interpreting the report. So we'll show your team how to use it and make sure you're getting the most out of it. And there's no additional charge for that. Anything you're seeing on there, Mark?
Nope. At this point, yeah, I think we've answered all of the high-level questions. There's a few specific ones. I think we ought to reach out to some folks. But at this point, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to attend the webinar today. I really do think, Windows 7 creates an obvious pain point that you could exploit when talking to potential customers. And of course, it goes without saying, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you've updated your own customers and, have those projects in place because, end of support is, a month away. So at this point, we look forward to the chance to work with you. If you have any questions, reach out to us at sales@rapidfiretools.com or give us a call. Thank you all very, very much.